Donald Trump is now going through architects, firing them when they disagree with him about design points, size issues. Happy Friday, everybody. We live in the United States of America, if you need reminded. It still is the United States of America. We are governed, we have elected, we have saw fit to put into power as President of the United States, Donald Trump, who's really more concerned with and obsessed with and fixated on being president of ballrooms, I guess. He has destroyed the east wing of the White House, literally demolished it. It's gone. It's just a hole in the ground now. To build this monstrosity that is bigger than the White House itself. And he won't shut the fuck up about it. Constantly posting on the internet about it. Ask random questions about something completely unrelated to the ballroom, and his dementia kicks in, and this lunatic starts rambling about the ballroom that nobody gives a fuck about. No one cares about the ballroom except for him because it's unnecessary. This monstrosity, this $350 million architectural nightmare. And the reason I say it's a nightmare is because Donald Trump is now going through architects, firing them when they disagree with him about design points, size issues. He believes he knows more than the person with advanced graduate degrees and expertise in their area of study. And he's firing. Get a load of this. This is peak Donald Trump. Daily Beast, Trump fires ballroom architect who said it was too big. The architect reportedly warned the president that enlarging the ballroom beyond the size of the White House itself was unwise. And our toddler, tantrum-throwing moron of a president fired him. President Donald Trump has replaced the architect who told him the White House ballroom was over the top. Trump had feuded with James McCreary II, whom he had personally selected to design his vanity project over his wish to supersize the already extravagant ballroom. McCreary urged Trump to exercise restraint. Good luck with that, Donald Trump exercising restraint. McCreary urged Trump to exercise restraint, warning that the planned 90,000 square foot addition would overshadow the 55,000 square foot executive residence, according to the Washington Post. On Thursday, the Post reported that McCreary stopped leading the project in late October and that Trump had tapped architect Shalom Bahrain's, I don't know. I'm not steeped in understanding and familiarity with all of the different architects in the city. Tap this other guy, Shalom, we'll call him, to take over. Now, look, let me say this. Pause here for a second. Donald Trump is trying to alter the makeup of our government, of our culture, of our society, of the country at large, but D.C. especially. He made a crack the other day about renaming the Kennedy Center the Trump Kennedy Center. What other president has ever tried to name so arrogantly, so self-absorbed, to name buildings while in office after himself? Nobody ever has done it. In the golden age of the founding period of our country, it was considered uncouth to even seek the office of president. You were nominated. You didn't even go through a candidacy like normal here, like we're used to. You don't throw your hat in the ring. You don't seek the office. But Donald Trump, who wants to compare himself to people like George Washington, he's renaming the Institute of Peace while there is all kinds of consternation about the war crimes being committed at his behest. This is fascism. This is Hitler shit. This is Germany in the 30s and 40s of the last century. Without a doubt, that's what it is. And anybody who wants to normalize this or act like it's not the things I've just said, They're either stupid and have zero understanding of our global history, or they're liars who are working in service. They are lapdogs of the fascist. When reached for comment, White House spokesman Davis Ingle told the Daily Beast in a statement, "As we begin to transition into the next stage of development on the White House ballroom, the administration is excited to share that." No, Donald Trump is excited to share. Come on. The administration, I would assume, has some people in it who are endeavoring to do the work of the people, who are endeavoring, even through their fascistic fever dream of what this policy should be, they are attending to the actual agenda of what Donald Trump promised, not this goofy, ostentatious ballroom. That the administration is excited to share that the highly talented Shalom, whatever his last name is, has joined the team of experts to carry out President Trump's vision on building what will be the greatest addition to the White House since the Oval Office, the White House ballroom. Shalom is an accomplished architect whose work has shaped the architectural identity of our nation's capital for decades, and his experience will be a great asset to the completion of the project. Baranis, is it Baranis? Let's go with Baranis. Baranis' firm has designed government buildings in D.C. for decades, including the General Services Administration's national headquarters. A White House official told the Beast that McCrary was not being replaced, but would continue on the project as a valuable consultant. The shakeup comes after Trump issued a cryptic Truth Social message about the ballroom on Monday. The president curiously stated of the construction, "As long as we're going to do it, we're going to do it right," in all capital letters. What does that mean? We don't expect answers. They're not coming anytime soon. The actual plans haven't been released, nor have they been approved by the city. Donald Trump is attempting to bypass architectural review, building permit, all of it. He thinks he is an island unto himself, a king-like figure who can just call the shots. No safety regulations will be taken into account. This will be a dangerous building, by all accounts, if Donald Trump gets his way. McCrary, whose firm is known for building Catholic churches, had reportedly told Trump that his ballooning vision for the ballroom risks violating a basic architectural rule. Don't let an extension engulf the building it's supposed to complement. But Trump has forged ahead with upsizing the ballroom, turning what was once supposed to be a 500-seat room into one that will accommodate 999 people. He wants it to potentially be big enough to host a presidential inauguration. Meanwhile, the cost has climbed from $200 million to $300 million, which Trump insists he and his billionaire pals will cover. That is yet to be seen. I still hold that a substantial portion of this will have to be covered by the taxpayers, and that all of the people who are now chipping in and then in return getting government contracts for their donation that ends up making them whole again. This isn't going to be all donated money. We're going to be on the hook for this. This unnecessary, in the midst of income inequality, the likes of which we haven't seen since the Gilded Age, maybe even worse than then, they're building this gold-encrusted nonsense ballroom for the richest and most powerful people to congregate and fellowship one with another. It's gross. Absolutely gross. Anyway, what do you think? I invite you to this conversation. Let's have it in the comments below the video.
When you attack American citizens, when you attack our institutions of legislation, when you attack our nation's capital, you attack the very being of our way of life.
So there has been an arrest in the Capitol bombing case, and it wasn't Marjorie Taylor Greene that was arrested, for all of you who believed it was her. I don't even know if they got the right guy. We'll wait and see. When you have an administration that is creating out of whole cloth charges to weaponize against people like James Comey and Letitia James, charges, by the way, that grand juries are saying no to now. In Letitia James's case, another grand jury took a crack at this and said, nah, we're not doing this. The cases are being thrown out, that these illegal appointments of U.S. attorneys. Anyway, so I'm reticent to act like they've nailed the person, that they've got this. I'm going to have to wait and see what the evidence is that they present and test it against the veracity of my common sense, because they cannot be trusted. But yesterday, Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, the two podcasters and insurrectionist supporting assholes, made the media rounds, bragging and boasting and taking a victory lap for their investigative prowess relative to this case. Wow. And Kash Patel, I mean, really, at this point, it's a goof, right? At this point, it's just it's a joke. It's like a big joke on the rest of us that these are the people they put in place, because Kash Patel, I have 3 clips here. Kash Patel went out there yesterday and during the press conference said some things that just are like a thumb in your eye, where he's talking about, if you attack our Capitol, you attack all of us. The guy who produced a music album for charity to support insurrectionists who attacked the Capitol. It's just projection. And the more radical that they do it, they think that we'll look the other way. I don't think that's how it works, though. Watch this.
General, when you attack American citizens, when you attack our institutions of legislation, when you attack our nation's capital, you attack the very being of our way of life. And this FBI and this Department of Justice stand here to tell you that we will always refute it and combat it. We will provide the safest country the nation has ever seen under President Trump's leadership here. And that's what we did here today with great resolve.
Kash Patel made a lot of money promulgating and promoting the conspiracy that the FBI had planted individuals to spark the insurrection, ignoring everything we witnessed relative to the words of Rudy Giuliani. Trial by combat, said the octogenarian who's never, ever faced violence in his life. Our fat loser president at the time and now currently saying that we need to go down there and give them hell. We need to fight, and then dispatch the armed mob that he knew was armed because the Secret Service wasn't allowing them into the speech at the Ellipse. And he was pissed about it. And he said, remove the magnetometers. I want my people here. They're not here to hurt me. And yet, Kash Patel wants you to believe that he believes that if you attack the United States Capitol, you attack the very being of our way of life, says Mini-Me. As part of his victory lap, he went on with the president's dopey son, and I don't necessarily mean dopey because of the dope that people say he does, but he is certainly dopey. And they had all kinds of insane projection type shit to talk about. Watch this and stifle your desire or urge to puke.
Since January 6th, 2020. But, I never understood how this could just disappear. I mean, 2 pipe bombs targeting the headquarters of the Republican Party, targeting the headquarters of the Democrat Party. I can understand maybe the media ignoring targets on the Republicans because, again, their silence is golden and they only report on that. But, I mean, that to me is a far greater threat than any of the nonsense, a grandma taking a selfie inside of January 6th. And yet it just disappeared. It's almost like that was the backup plan if they didn't get what they wanted out of January 6th, which to me seems like a very clear setup operation.
And look, you're absolutely right. Thanks to President Trump's sweeping victory and mandate for accountability across all sectors of law enforcement, especially those that harm Washington, D.C. and our elected leadership and American lives visiting our nation's capital, we just went at it with the same approach that we go after every single case this FBI handles. No resource will be spared. No agent or analyst or staff support will be spared. These guys worked literally around the clock for the last 6, 7, 8 months producing these lines of evidence, finding the leads. And you now know, based on the publication of the press conference, that yes, there were tips in there clues in there that we keyed in on, like this.
You're absolutely right, says the director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation to the dipshit son of Donald Trump when he says, It's almost like the pipe bombs were a backup plan if they didn't get what they wanted out of January 6th. And it's a nice euphemism to talk about grandmas taking selfies in January 6th, or how he phrased that. You're talking about a violent attempted overthrow of the United States government. All of the little cute language they use to not really drill down on the thing they're actually talking about is rich. And then I got a final clip for you. And this is Kash Patel and credibly accused rapist Greg Kelly waxing triumphant over this arrest and their investigations, communicating, putting out there that the Biden administration didn't want to solve this case, that it was something sinister about the fact that they couldn't find this person.
They deliberately did not want to solve this. I mean, this was challenging, but it was solvable, right?
In my opinion, the prior administration either was completely incompetent or intentional in their weaponization of justice and law enforcement. And we know they have a track record of the latter with Arctic Frost and Russiagate and so many else. So I put this in that folder. What we did was we rejected and are in the process of destroying and leveling the weaponization of justice and law enforcement and delivering results for the American people.
So Joe Biden intentionally didn't want the case solved. And why would that be? Because we're learning now that the person they have in custody, the person they've arrested, the person they're going to charge, was a Trump supporter. Why would Joe Biden, with all of his evil weaponization, want to not prosecute the Trump supporter who thought the election was stolen? It makes total sense. Look, if this is the kind of acumen and intelligence and logic that they bring to their jobs, we're doomed. We are cooked we're cooked anyway, but I mean, come on. When his rounds making are Newsmax and the goofy podcast of the president's son. Come on. Anyway, what do you think? I invite you to this conversation. Let's have it in the comments. Do you share the skepticism that I have as well about that this is the guy? I mean, if it is, great. I'm looking forward to see his prosecution. I look forward to seeing what the evidence is, but I'm going to reserve judgment and not jump on this bandwagon because they really can't be trusted. And so we need to use our brains and all of our faculties to actually weigh what we see against their previous behavior and what will certainly be future behavior. I don't know if I've dropped the number already because I started rambling, but 714-576-4054 is the phone number to leave a voicemail. You can also email me daily@dollemore.com. Make sure you're subscribed to catch my videos on a daily basis on YouTube. It's free to do so. And you can also just like and follow the Facebook page, Dollemore Daily over there. We're almost to 40,000 followers and likers over there versus the 1.2 million here. Make it make sense. This is also part of the problem that this dipshit country music singer, girlfriend of Kash Patel, she's not in charge of the FBI. She is in no position to be directing FBI agents to do anything. So speaking of Kash Patel and the fecklessness, and I talked yesterday, I think he might be on his way out. I think that Fox News hates him. I think that they are setting the stage to start reporting on this story as well as others. We've seen that he's taken the jet off to go on dates with his girlfriend, going to wrestling matches and concerts, and then leaving those concerts that are in a completely different state to fly across the country to her home state of Nashville in Tennessee. We've seen him refusing to get out of the van until he had a tight enough coat that fit him right with the right patches on. He's just an egomaniac. He's a guy who feels bad about being 4'9" or 5 foot tall. There's nothing wrong with it. Be who you are. Just celebrate what you got. But he's insecure, like all of these MAGA clowns. And now there's an accusation against him, reporting that he's using FBI agents, ordering FBI agents to act as Uber drivers to get not his girlfriend home safe after she's been drinking, but his girlfriend's girlfriends. FBI agents are being used as chauffeurs, as Uber drivers, to get the friends of his girlfriend home after they've been drinking. What's all this rambling and bemoaning about fraud, waste, and abuse and mismanagement? This is from the new MS Now, still that name. From MS Now, Kash Patel ordered FBI detail to give girlfriend's pal a lift home. Sources: the FBI director's use of resources is under intense scrutiny as he insists he is a good steward, or just a steward, of taxpayer dollars. FBI Director Kash Patel has on more than one occasion ordered that the security detail protecting his girlfriend escort one of her allegedly inebriated friends home after a night of partying in Nashville, according to 3 people with knowledge of the incidents. Patel's girlfriend, Alexis Wilkins, asked FBI agents on her security team at least 2 times, including once this spring, to drive her friend home, and agents objected to diverting from their assignment, said the sources, who were granted anonymity to discuss non-public matters. Look, this is also part of the problem, that this dipshit country music singer, girlfriend of Kash Patel, look, it tells you there's something wrong with her picker. Her judgment's a little askew anyway, but she's not in charge of the FBI. She is in no position to be directing FBI agents to do anything. The fact that she has a protective detail is problematic enough. It's not the wife of the FBI director. It's the girlfriend. But Kash Patel is so desperate for acceptance. He just wants to cling on to this to make it a real thing because he is, he's Kash Patel. I'm never going to get a shot like this again. I got to make this one land and stick the landing really hard. But Patel insisted the FBI agents do as Wilkins requested, and in one case, called the leader of Wilkins's security detail and yelled at him to do so. News of the effort to deploy agents to provide security for a private citizen has spread through the Bureau and beyond as agents have grown increasingly concerned by Patel's use of the Bureau's strapped resources, the people said. Here's the other thing. Look, this is going to come to a head because media organizations and friendly outlets like Fox News are going to turn on Patel. But the other thing is, the reason we're learning about this is because people within the FBI are not happy about the way it's being managed. They're not happy about the things they witnessed. They're not happy about being directed to be fucking Uber drivers for the drunk girlfriends of Kash Patel's drunk girlfriend. FBI spokesperson Ben Williamson did not answer questions about multiple inside accounts of Wilkins's detail being diverted, but broadly denied such events took place. This is made up and did not happen, Williamson said. It didn't happen. It didn't happen. What's his name? Ben Williamson. It didn't happen. Well, what about all of the other things that have happened that are being reported? Are those also tons of fabrications? Are the flight logs fabricated that we know that he took the jet to the wrestling match and to the concert and then to Nashville and to Vegas and to Scotland for a golf trip? Are all the flight logs also did not happen? Because there's more than just this story that lead us to have concern about the manner with which the resources, again, the dwindling resources of the FBI are being utilized. At Patel's direction, the FBI provides a separate security detail for Wilkins, 27, a country music performer who lives part-time in Nashville for her work. The FBI security detail, first reported by MS Now. MS Now. Oh, it's MS Now. I know I'm probably pissing somebody off who spent a lot of time working on that name, but next time you need to rebrand MSNBC, call me up. I can help you out. I'm brilliant. Look, Dollamore Daily. It just rolls right off the tongue. First reported by MS Now, is made up of members of an elite SWAT team based in the area. It has spurred concerns about Patel abusing FBI resources to essentially drive his girlfriend around for various events and appointments. The FBI has never before provided a separate security detail for a director's girlfriend. Spouses of past directors typically received episodic security protection, but only when they were traveling with their spouse and the director's detail. Look, I don't have a problem with a spouse of a high-level official getting a little security, even full-time. I don't have a problem with that. There's all kinds of nuts out there. But a girlfriend who's very likely not going to end up being his spouse because she's going to see the writing on the wall, or sometimes she's going to wipe the sleep out of her eyes and realize he's 5 foot tall? Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Former FBI agents and senior law enforcement officials said it was already disturbing that Patel had pulled elite tactical agents away from their SWAT team mission to drive his girlfriend around town. But they told MS Now they were shocked that the director instructed tactical agents to use their time on yet another person the FBI had no reasonable duty to protect. Also, they don't need protection. They're just randos. No one is going to be waiting in the wings. I'm a trained assassin. I'm here to get Kash Patel. Oh, I can't get Kash Patel. I'm going to get his girlfriend. Oh, I can't get her either. She's got a SWAT team detail. I know what I'll do. I'll get her drunk girlfriends that nobody knows about. It makes total sense, Kash. Quote, not only is the assignment of FBI SWAT personnel to a security detail to protect his girlfriend inappropriate, directing these highly trained professionals to babysit his girlfriend's friend is outrageous and demonstrative of Kash Patel's complete lack of judgment and integrity, said former FBI agent Chris O'Leary, an MS Now contributor. Quote, FBI agents, and we'll end it here, FBI agents serve the public and swear an oath to protect and defend the Constitution. This is clearly a long way from that. Christopher O'Leary is correct. Kash Patel is not long for this position. More and more and more stories are going to start making their way to the media through people who are unhappy with the job he's doing within the organization itself. This isn't coming from without. This is definitely coming from within. What do you think? I invite you to this conversation. I believe it's an important one. The more that we can show, the more evidence that we can bring to bear that these people don't have the best interest of the country in their minds. They want to make things easy for themselves. They want to be seen as big time on private jets and be able to order FBI agents around. It's gross.
To have that many applications means that we're going to hire the best of the best, and individuals who have experience can get qualified for their ICE badge as soon as possible and hit the streets so that they can make sure that these families get to live safely again.
After the tragic and disgusting shooting of Sarah Beckstrom, the National Guard soldier from West Virginia, the 20-year-old who was killed by an Afghan national who was granted asylum by Donald Trump and allowed to enter the country in September of 2021 by Joe Biden, there's been a lot of talk about vetting of asylum seekers and vetting of migrants coming into the country. There doesn't seem to be any talk about vetting ICE agents who are endeavoring to kidnap those migrants off the streets while masked, while refusing to identify themselves. No vetting for them. And the details that we're starting to get through interviews and insiders who are sounding the alarm is, in fact, itself alarming. There's reason to sound the alarm. They are trying to put through, I'm going to read some paragraphs here that they will shock you. Even the incompetence that is on display of Donald Trump and Kristi Noem and these ghouls on a daily basis, even knowing everything you know, you'll be like, what? They're trying to put a nearly 500-pound man through ICE training at FLETC, the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center? That's what they're trying to do? They have people who want to take a break from training to go deal with their court case that involves a gun charge. There are people going through ICE recruitment training that barely can read and write. Yeah, under Donald Trump, absolutely. Because there is a fever pitch to get this internal army stood up to be masked armed agents, the secret police of Donald Trump. And it doesn't matter how fucking fat you are. It doesn't matter how illiterate you are. It doesn't matter how criminally inclined you are. We want you. We need you. This is from the Daily Beast. ICE Barbie's hiring blitz descends into disaster with shockingly bad results. The deliberate rush to boost numbers had led to violent, barely literate, and unfit rookies becoming federal agents. You know, there was once a time, I remember when I moved from Washington, D.C. back to Idaho, and I lived in a town called Nampa, a town I went to elementary school and stuff. It's a suburb of Boise. And we had just bought the house that we lived in, and U.S. Marshals and FBI agents showed up at my house. And it was for somebody who owned the house before me. Trust me, there was no trouble. There was no trouble. And I remember thinking, like, these are two capable guys, professional men that were questioning me about whatever. I don't remember what it was because it had nothing to do with me. But they were men of to be at least admired in some way. They weren't giant 469-pound fatties who couldn't run a block to enforce laws. They had an acumen about them about investigatory matters that they could put two and two together through their ability to read and write. It's just not the case anymore. A federal agent used to mean something, and it just doesn't anymore under Donald Trump. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem's race to add 10,000 Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents has become a circus as sloppy vetting and massive bonuses have attracted a raft of bottom-of-the-barrel recruits and even some suspected of having gang ties. You know, the thing that Donald Trump constantly talks about, migrants. Well, they're sending their gang members. We have to get rid of them. As he hires gang members to be agents of the federal government. Noem, 54. Again, I don't know if you've been around every time I get reminded of her age, but how is that lady not 65 years old? I mean, come on, 54. I'm 51. I'm 51 years old. That means that she was a senior when I was a freshman in high school, right? Isn't that the math that works out? I did graduate high school after all. Noem, shockingly 54 years old, dubbed Ice Barbie for staging glam raid photo ops, boasted this week that her department will hit 10,000 new recruits within days. In fact, let me give you about a minute of video of her talking to Sean Hannity, bragging about the quality of federal agent they're bringing in through their bonuses and trying to get ramped up to all of these new recruits. Watch this from her on Fox News.
You're looking to hire 10,000 more ICE agents. You have already well over 100,000 applications?
We do. In fact, as of today, about 110,000 applications in less than 2 weeks. And that's what I find so encouraging is it's clear the American people are behind President Trump and these officers. They have their backs, and they want to be a part of what's happening in this country by making it safe again. So despite what, the fake news says, despite what the liberals and the socialists and the Marxists are parroting every single day out in their communities and to their supporters, it's just not true. The American people are so happy, and they're excited about the fact that the rule of law is going to apply to everybody, and that Americans and citizens who follow the law should be prioritized, and that President Trump is doing exactly that. So to have that many applications means that we're going to hire the best of the best, and individuals who have experience can get qualified for their ICE badge as soon as possible and hit the streets so that they can make sure that these families get to live safely again.
I'm going to get there, but you're going to be shocked at what you just heard juxtaposed against what the facts are here. But a Daily Mail investigation says the frantic push has produced recruits who have gone on to allegedly attack civilians and sexually assault female trainees and others who can barely read or write. One case reportedly included a 469-pound man whose own doctor had already declared him unfit for physical activity. Not fit for service, just unfit for physical activity. And no, I know what you're thinking. That 469-pound recruit was not Donald Trump. Keep your pants on. Anything that they think may have a pulse, they're moving through, one unnamed DHS official was quoted saying. Vetting has allegedly been so rushed that the Mail reports recruits were flown to a training base in Glencoe, Georgia, before drug test results came back, only for some to test positive after they were already in training. One trainee reportedly asked to leave class to attend a court date on a gun charge. Others were found to have tattoos linked to gangs and white supremacist groups when they stripped down for workouts. The Mail investigation comes after the Daily Beast reported last month that insiders felt the recruitment drive had become a full-blown shit show, with Noam's job at risk as a result. The Mail report says the disaster has come about because ICE slashed standards to meet President Trump's target of 10,000 new recruits, dangling signing and retention bonuses of up to $50,000 that DHS touts on its recruitment site and job postings. Applicants no longer need a college degree and can now be as young as 18 years old, while the Trump administration scrapped the upper age limit entirely in August. According to internal figures cited by the outlet, hundreds of brand new hires with no law enforcement background have been rushed into the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center, FLETC, in Brunswick, Georgia, alongside older rehires pushed into desk jobs. Instructors at the Georgia Academy were left astounded as some trainees who can barely read or write English bombed open book exams and struggled to complete basic physical training. One incredulous DHS source told The Beast, a 469-pound recruit? Are they going to roll him down a hill? And then finally here, discipline problems have followed. The Mail describes one 29-year-old recruit being arrested off-site after allegedly exploding at a FLETC bus driver and smashing his phone. Another man was accused of barging into a woman's dorm after a night at the bar, while a second allegedly groped a female trainee during defensive tactics class. This is our Department of Homeland Security. These are the people who are masked and refuse to identify themselves in your community, kidnapping migrants and citizens alike off the street with no due process. This is it. 469-pound turds, illiterate idiots, people who are groping women trainees in training, people with gun charges and gang tattoos and Nazi-affiliated rhetoric on their bodies. Good job. Sean Hannity promoting Kristi Noem, who's following through on the orders of our white supremacist president. Good job. Incompetence is now in vogue in Donald Trump's administration. Anyway, what do you think? I invite you to this conversation. If you have any federal law enforcement background, I'd love to hear from you. Generally, what are your thoughts? It's about the intent behind it. It's about the white supremacy agenda behind it. It's about the soft assault on black folks in this country, that you're not important. I think over the years, I've probably shed the segment of my audience that acted like I was an alarmist about racism, about white supremacy, about anti-black propaganda in America. I think they're gone because they were like, this guy talks about race too much. He's too much of a social justice warrior. And I would say to them, they're not here because they left a long time ago, that if you think denigrating or using pejorative terms, if you use social justice warrior as an insult, you can fuck straight off. No need to bleep, producer Chris. No need to bleep that. If you believe social justice is a fool's errand, you can fuck straight off. Now that I've chastised the segment of the audience that is not here to hear me chastise them, let me talk about the latest. Let me talk about this. It is not a coincidence that Donald Trump is trying to erase photos of black military members, that he's attacking the African American History and Culture Museum right here in Washington, D.C., sending back facts that were on loan from individuals, just giving them back to them because, we're not gonna show any of this stuff. It's an attack on black excellence. It's an attack on black contributions to our culture, to our science, to our nation, to humanity. And now they're attacking black adjacent holidays, black specific holidays that we celebrate that are federal holidays within the National Park Service. There's certain days where you get to go in for free because it's a federal holiday. 4th of July, all these holidays. MLK Day was one. Juneteenth was another. Both are federal holidays. And now, nope, no longer registered as special enough to rate. This is white supremacy. This is the soft assault on black people in the country. That's what this particular thing is. It's the soft assault. Not the hard assault, like firing military members because they're black. Not that. This is more subtle than that. And these are the things we need to keep our eye on to when we're compiling our list of all the white supremacy agenda items of Donald Trump. Just add this to that list. This is from the San Francisco Gate. National Parks change prioritizes Trump's birthday over days honoring black people. Free entrance days at national parks no longer include MLK Day and Juneteenth. The Donald Trump administration has changed which holidays qualify for free entrance to national parks, removing 2 holidays celebrating black people and adding the president's birthday. Yeah. So the man who promoted the racist conspiracy, the lie that Obama, our first black president, wasn't qualified to be president because he wasn't born here, that he was born in Africa, in Kenya, is now removing Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday as a holiday in federal parks, removing Juneteenth, the day that officially slavery ended in the United States. After Texas, there were some holdouts, some people were owning human beings as property after the fact, and they finally got the message there. That's Juneteenth, the way I understand the holiday. And Donald Trump's going to put his own fucking birthday above those days. Yeah. Martin Luther King Jr. Day is an annual federal holiday that happens to be on the 3rd Monday of January, close to the civil rights leader January 15th birthday. Historically, it's been the first fee-free day of the year for national parks, which waive interest fees several days a year. Now, visitors to the 116 parks that charge entrance fees will no longer get in for free on MLK Day or on Juneteenth, a federal holiday on June 19th that celebrates the end of slavery in the United States. They will, however, allow you free entrance into the park on Trump's June 14th birthday, which was added to the list this year. Parks charge admission fees that range from $3 to $30, according to the National Park Service. Look, this isn't about the injustice of having to pay the $3 to $30 to get into a park. It's not about that. It's about the intent behind it. It's about the white supremacy agenda behind it. It's about the soft assault on black folks in this country, that you're not important. You're not worthy of celebration. You're not worthy of inclusion. That's what this is about. This is pernicious. This is neo-Nazi bullshit. And we all should be outraged at everything big and small when it comes to equality and equity and inclusion in our country. This policy shift is deeply concerning, said Tyree Moore, the executive director of Soul Track Outdoors, a nonprofit that connects urban communities of color to the outdoors. Removing free entry days on MLK Day and Juneteenth sends a troubling message about who our national parks are for. These holidays hold profound cultural and historical significance for black communities, and eliminating them as access points feels like a direct targeting of the very groups who already face systemic barriers to the outdoors. Look, that is true. This is a direct targeting. Adding Donald Trump's goofy fucking birthday and taking out Martin Luther King Jr. Day and Juneteenth? That's by design, folks. Other free entrance days in 2026 include President's Day, Washington's birthday, Memorial Day, Independence Day weekend, the 110th birthday of the National Park Service, Constitution Day, Theodore Roosevelt's birthday. He's largely credited with the development of the national park system, and Veterans Day. Along with MLK Day and Juneteenth, National Public Lands Day, and the anniversary of the Great American Outdoors Act were also removed. So they are relegating two major federal holidays with a couple of days that are recognized by national parks that no one's ever heard of. The Great American Outdoors Act, National Public Lands Day. Those aren't federal holidays. Those are kitschy little, like hot dog day or cookie day or pumpkin pie day or whatever. And then finally here, the Department of Interior, I always want to give them a chance to respond. The Department of the Interior and the National Park Service, of course, did not respond to questions about why MLK Day is no longer included. Because they're cowards who are led by a coward. Look, you're in service to fascism when you work in this government. Unless you're putting up a fight, unless you're actually giving a statement, we got to be quiet. No. It's going to take so long to roll back the damaging impacts that Donald Trump has brought against our country, this assault on our country. And look, if you're out there and you're white, again, I'm going to hear YouTube videos click off all over the world here. You'll be among the people who stopped listening because they thought I was a conspiracy theorist about white supremacy in this country. If you're out there and you're like, well, this doesn't really impact me because I don't care about MLK Day. I'm not black. Juneteenth doesn't mean anything to me because my ancestors were never slaves. You need to start thinking about looking at the world through a lens with a little bit of empathy, because it's black people now, but fascism always needs an enemy. And once they vanquish their enemies, they'll be looking for a new enemy, and you might be on that list. Anyway, what do you think? I appreciate your feedback, and I look forward to it in the comments.
Listen, I was paid in the past, Sean, for my opinions. That's clear. And one day I'll be back in that space. But that's not what I'm paid for now. I'm paid to be your deputy director, and we base investigations on facts.
All right, I was going to end it on that last video, but I just... This whole refrain, I talked about it earlier with Kash Patel, that this is becoming some kind of a sick joke. This is like a goof, I think I said. That we've got two people running the FBI, Kash Patel, just a marionette for Donald Trump, and Dan Bongino, a conspiracy theory podcaster. He's like vying. Once Alex Jones lost his footing, Dan Bongino took up the mantle to be that guy. And Dan Bongino was on with Hannity yesterday, just doing the same thing that Kash Patel's been doing, taking his victory lap about their arrest of this guy that they claim is the Capitol bomber, that they really haven't given us any evidence for yet. We'll see. I want a conviction in that case desperately. But, I want the right person caught. I don't want them to put up a patsy and then have the actual Capitol bomber out there being a potential danger to the country. And Dan Bongino said some things that are maybe more insane than Kash Patel said on his victory lap moments. The one being the fact that Donald Trump hates crime, and crime it makes him crazy. It drives him crazy. Which is, that was an involuntary scratch. Not like I was like, that's weird. But is he fucking kidding me? Our president, who's been convicted of felonies of 34 counts, felony counts, hates crime. Our president, who has pardoned going on 2,000 people, many for fraud and drug trafficking, crimes with involving nearly $2 billion worth of defrauding veterans and elderly people. Donald Trump hates crime as he is a criminal every single day that he's in office. Get out of here, dude. Anyway, watch this. And just marvel in the absolute arrogance to say something like this with a straight face. Dan Bongino on Hannity.
drives around these. What do you think he's doing this for? You think he's doing it to get reelected? You think he's doing it for politics? These are blue cities. He hates crime. He can't. It drives him crazy, and he wants it solved. And if and Cash and I are committed to doing it.
Well, I'm grateful, and I know many other Americans are grateful to the team and everybody that you mentioned. Dan, haven't.
And look, this is what happens when you put these people in charge. People who are so stupid as to say something like this that is just so patently ridiculous. Even Republicans would hear that and be like, that's a tough pill to swallow. But this is why you need someone who has a rational understanding, a reality view of the world, who deals with reality that we share on that very reality's terms. Because this other clip I'm getting ready to show you, it's an exchange between Hannity, where Hannity shows him a tweet that he tweeted, and he's like, yeah, listen, that was my old job when I was a podcaster. But now, and the but does a lot of heavy lifting. The but explains, maybe I'll explain it after the clip. No, the but explains the difference between the two. Yeah, that's something I did back then, but now I'm the assistant director of the FBI, and we have to deal in facts. Meaning, the thing before he didn't deal in facts, that he's a liar. It's the same thing, going back to the Alex Jones reference. I'm glad I said that, because Alex Jones did the same thing in court. Oh, no, this is all entertainment. No. You don't take me seriously. I'm not a serious character. Dan Brown Jr. is doing the same thing, except now he's not some dipshit podcaster like me. He's not an idiot on YouTube like me. He was. Now he's a dipshit and an idiot as the deputy director of the Federal Bureau of Investigations. Watch this and marvel at these two morons not even getting an inkling of that what they're saying is just out of this world.
You know, I don't know if you remember this. This is before you became the deputy FBI director. You put a post on X right after this happened, and you said there's a massive cover-up because the person that planted those pipe bombs, they don't want you to know who it is because it's either a connected anti-Trump insider or an inside job. You said that, you know, long before you were even thought of as deputy FBI director.
Yeah, that's why I said to you, this investigation's just begun. We are pretty comfortable. We have our guy. I think again, legal process starts to surface and information and facts start to come out. The public's going to be very comfortable with the investigation that was conducted under Director Patel and his leadership. He's been great on this. But I don't want to, listen, I was paid in the past, Sean, for my opinions. That's clear. And one day I'll be back in that space. But that's not what I'm paid for now. I'm paid to be your deputy director. And we base investigations on facts. And, it was interesting. I was looking out in the crowd today at the presser, and I saw a couple of media figures who you and I both know who promoted the other scandal, the collusion hoax. And I thought to myself, the difference between us and them is, we evolve. As information and new inputs come out, we can produce different outputs because that's what we believe in. We believe in facts and investigations guided by facts. There were people out there in that crowd, I'm sure still believe in this collusion fairy tale hoax. So we'll see. We're going to be guided by the facts as this thing goes forward. And I can't stop leave the truck here without thanking the president. The president.
This is an aside and it's an invective. It's just a slam against what the guy's head shape is. But I'm no phrenologist, but you would think he'd be smarter with the size of the upper part of his dome, right? There's a lot of brain that can fit in there. It must be just a real thick skull that is protecting a tiny, very desperate brain. But you heard him say it. I was paid in the past for my opinions, but I'm paid to be your deputy director, and we base investigations on facts. Shouldn't you base the things that you say as a disseminator of information and opinion even, shouldn't they be based on facts? I know I do. For about an hour a day, I talk about the news and I analyze and break down the news based on my understanding of the world, based on the words of the Constitution of the United States based on facts. Now, do I get it wrong? Yeah, but we're all human. We get shit wrong, right? But I base it on facts. I base it on an argument that can be made, not wild conspiracies that I'm picking out of the air. That's why I drop the phone number at the end of every single video and my email address. And I encourage you for dissent in the comments, because let's have a conversation. If I'm wrong, convince me I'm wrong. But if I was made the deputy director of the FBI tomorrow, I wouldn't take the job because I'm not going to work for a fucking fascist like Trump. But if they made me into some job that I'm clearly unqualified for, just like Dan Bongino and Kash Patel, wildly unqualified, I would still use the same rigor that I use in this job at that job. The fact that he is so flippant about his past job that's not based on facts should be a red flag to all of the people who were in his audience. Like, wait a minute, I thought you were giving us facts. No? Huh, I guess I got duped. I guess I'm a rube who got duped by a moron with a pea brain. What's that say about MAGA world as he rambles on and on about how we change when the facts change? No, you don't, dipshit. No, you don't. Anyway, what do you think about Alex Jones Jr. here? I'd love your opinion. You can talk about it in the comments below. As always, dissent, dissent, dissent. Tell me how I'm wrong. Make an argument. Change my mind. I sound like fucking Steven Crowder. You can also call the voicemail line 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me daily@dollemore.com. Please consider, I'll end it with this. Marching into the weekend. Consider $2 a month to help support this channel, to help fund the work that we do here. I would appreciate it very much. You can click the join button below this video and become a channel member on YouTube. You can go to my Patreon page, even better, patreon.com/IDoubtItPodcast, $2 a month, and you can help support the work. If you're on retirement or disability or a fixed income, or you just don't have financial independence right now, I don't want your support monetarily. I don't want it. I've had people say, don't tell me what you do with my money. That's fine. You can do what you want, but I don't want it. You can like this video. You can comment on this video. You could share this video, and make sure you're subscribed. Those things are awesome, but you need to take care of yourself, especially in an economy like this that Donald Trump has trashed. Take care of yourself. If you find yourself I'm going to keep talking about it. If you find yourself in a situation where money's tight, cancel your membership on YouTube. Cancel your Patreon. It's not just me saying it. I seriously, take care of yourself. I'm more concerned about our community that we've built around this show than about a few dollars on YouTube. So anyway, take care of yourself. Take care of everybody else. Be genuine. The things I say at the end of every video. Have a great weekend. I love you guys. Be genuine. Take care of one another. Shut it down. Shut it down. What are we funding? A domestic terrorist organization? Yeah. I'm going to start every single topic that I talk about today asking you to do something for the country. Even if you've never called Congress before, even if you've never programmed this phone number into your phone, 202-224-3121, which is the Capitol switchboard, you need to call today to implore your representative in the House of Representatives to not be a Nazi collaborator. Today, there is scheduled a vote to increase funding for ICE. They are trying to wrap up the appropriations for the year. And we need to hold them accountable, because anybody, Democrat, Republican, who votes to fund ICE, a single dollar is a Nazi collaborator. In 2026, I never thought I would be in a situation where I am saying, do not fund this Homeland Security Department because they are terrorists. They are terrorizing American citizens and immigrants alike. They are kidnapping people off the streets of the United States. They are murdering citizens in cold blood. Why would we, pray tell, give them a single red cent? Any member of Congress who does so is a collaborator with Donald Trump. If you advance the agenda of Donald Trump, you're a collaborator. And ICE, the masked secret police force of Donald Trump that is filled to the gills with Proud Boys, should not be funded. 202-224-3121. Now, let me tell you a little bit about what's going on here. This is from ABC News. House moves to finish government funding as Democrats decry Homeland Security bill. The House is looking to pass this year's final batch of spending bills. The House will look to pass this year's final tranche of spending bills on Thursday, an effort that is being complicated by Democratic lawmakers' concerns that the measure funding the Department of Homeland Security inadequately addresses President Donald Trump's mass deportation efforts. The House has already passed 8 of the 12 annual appropriations bills that fund federal agencies and programs. If the final 4 bills pass on Thursday, action would then move to the Senate with final passage needed before a January 30th deadline to avoid a partial government shutdown. Shut it down. Shut it down. What are we funding? A domestic terrorist organization? Yeah. There will be people who are temporarily harmed by a shutdown. Absolutely. Things will be tough. But things are tough for Renee Good's family. Things are tough for the other individuals who have been murdered by ICE. Things are tough for people who are legally permitted to be here for work, who have asylum claims. They're kidnapping 5-year-olds on their way home from school and using them as bait. They are telling us that they don't need to abide by the 4th Amendment of the United States Constitution, which prohibits unreasonable, unlawful searches and seizures, because they have Trump's executive order. And we're going to fund them. We're going to allow them money to bolster their efforts to continue to terrorize America, to continue to ignore and destroy the Constitution. We're going to allow them to be Nazis under color of law, because if that's what you fund, members of Congress, you're a collaborator with them. If you fund them, you support them. It's as easy as that. House Democratic leaders, Representative Hakeem Jeffries of New York, Representative Catherine Clark of Massachusetts, and Representative Pete Aguilar of California announced in a closed-door meeting that they would oppose. Even Hakeem Jeffries opposes this. Oppose the Homeland Security bill. Their members are demanding a forceful stand in response to the Republican president's immigration crackdown, most recently centered in the Minneapolis area, where more than 2,000 officers are stationed and where a U.S. Immigrations and Customs Enforcement officer fatally shot Renee Good, a mother of 3. Quote, "There's a very big concern about ICE being out of control," said Representative Rosa DeLauro, the ranking Democratic lawmaker on the House Appropriations Committee. But Democrats have few good options. She's now a culprit in trying to get Democrats to vote for this ICE funding bill. She herself apparently is a Nazi collaborator, along with one that you will not be surprised by, Henry Cuellar of Texas, the criminal that Donald Trump just pardoned. This is Rosa DeLauro again. But Democrats have few good options to express their opposition. You have the option to not vote for it, Rosa DeLauro. You have the option to not be a collaborator with ICE. You have the option to not vote to fund them one single penny, Congresswoman. You have that option. Is that not available to you? But Democrats have few good options to express their opposition, other than your vote, I guess. DeLauro said that passing a continuing resolution to fund Homeland Security at current levels for the remainder of the budget year would cede spending decisions to Trump. There's also little appetite for another shutdown, even if it would affect only a portion of the federal government. Quote, There is much more we must do to rein in DHS, which I will continue to press for. But the hard truth is that Democrats must win political power to enact the kind of accountability we need, said Senator Patty Murray, the top Democrat on the Senate Appropriations Committee. This year's Homeland Security bill holds spending for ICE roughly flat from the year prior. It also restricts the ability of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem to unilaterally shift funding and allocate federal dollars as she sees fit. Listen, they're not abiding by the law anyway. Why would we make a deal? Why would we negotiate? Why would we come to the table with look, well, this is what we want. If you give us this, we'll give you, when they lie. They don't tell the truth. They don't abide by their previously agreed to agreements. Why would we make a deal with these ghouls, with these Nazis? Why would we do that? Are we Charlie Brown getting ready to kick the football and having Lucy yank it up and whoop? I thought this time would be the time she'd let me kick it. Are we going to continue to be the party that thinks that Republicans are partners in governance? Is that what we're going to be? I, for one, am not a sucker. I, for two, maybe more prominently, am not a Nazi collaborator. And I don't abide those who are. Quote, it's not everything we wanted. We wanted more oversight. But look, Democrats don't control the House. We don't control the Senate or the White House. But we were able to add some oversight over Homeland, said Representative, pardoned by Trump, Representative Henry Cuellar, Democrat of Texas, a member of the appropriations panel. He said he intends to vote for the bill because he, after all, is a Nazi fucking collaborator. But most Democrats who emerged from the closed-door caucus meeting on Wednesday had a different view. I never support lawless operations, said Representative Marcy Kaptur of Ohio. Quote, if it's the status quo, I'm a no, said Brad Schneider, Democrat of Illinois. DeLauro, along with Cuellar, made a presentation about the bill to House Democrats during their closed-door meeting. Representative Pramila Jayapal, Democrat of Washington, said she told her colleagues why she thought it was a mistake. Others who spoke up agreed, she said. This is Jayapal, quote, I think this is just a really horrific time, and people understand what's at stake, Jayapal said. We can't treat this like it's anything else. Our eyes are not lying to us. It is simple. It is undeniable. It is inarguable. If you vote to fund ICE, you are collaborating with Nazis. The Department of Homeland Security is a white supremacist organization. If you go to their Twitter, all they do all day long is quote Nazi rhetoric. They repurpose literal Nazi slogans from World War II. The imagery, the fascist aesthetic of it all. And yet DeLauro and Cuellar, they cannot wait to vote to fund ICE so they can be more just flush with cash to violate the Constitution, to kidnap community members, to murder American citizens. There will be accountability after all of this. There absolutely will be accountability. Now, DeLauro, she's old. She'll probably just not run again. But Cuellar, he wants power. He wants to be around. He's just a bootlicking simp for the clowns he represents in Texas. Do not be a Nazi collaborator. Do not be represented by a Nazi collaborator. 202-224-3121. That's the Capitol switchboard. Tell them where you're from. You can give them your zip code. You can go to 5calls.org. Find this. They'll give you a script of what to read. 5calls.org. Number 5, calls.org. Or you can just do it yourself. 202-224-3121. Love and appreciate you very much. Listen, even if you've never called, make this the time that you call. There's never been a more important call that you'll make than this one. What do you think? You can comment below after you call. Not accepting any calls at the voicemail line or comments unless you call. Huh? How's that? I can't really control that, but you know. Comment below. You can call the voicemail line 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me daily@dollemore.com. I love and appreciate you very much. Love you more if you call 202-224-3121. And I'll see you next time. Be genuine and take care of one another. You know how you do it? By calling 202-224-3121. Where are all the don't tread on me folks? Where are all of the ghouls who fly their little Gadsden flags? Today is a vote to fund ICE, to finalize some of the funding for this year. Call your congressperson and tell them not to be a Nazi collaborator. Do not give one single penny to ICE in appropriations. 202-224-3121. That's your charge for the day. That is your patriotic duty to do so. If you don't want to be a Nazi collaborator, if you don't want to be represented by a Nazi collaborator, you tell your representative, Republican, but especially Democrat, do not vote for this, because you'll be looking for a different fucking job after this election. Now, let's talk about some of the terror that's being foisted upon the American people by the domestic terrorist organization, ICE, by Donald Trump's masked secret police force filled with Proud Boys that are now violating the Constitution by order and edict of the Department of Homeland Security. I have in my hands a leaked memo that I'm going to read to you that admonishes ICE agents that they do not need a warrant to enter the private domiciles of people they are kidnapping, which is a remarkable turn for the Constitution Party, for the party that is filled to the brim with politicians that reach into their pockets and wave around their Constitution as some kind of a prop. Because that, after all it is to Republicans. They do no longer follow or adhere or venerate or have any loyalty to the Constitution. They have replaced the loyalty for the Constitution with loyalty to Trump, loyalty to white supremacy, loyalty to sending migrants to internment camps, and the wholesale murder of American citizens who don't agree with Donald Trump's mass deportation policies. Where to begin? Where to begin? We've got all kinds of stuff here. One, let me say this. This is a secret memo that has now been revealed to the AP, is who broke the story first, by whistleblowers within the Department of Homeland Security. And this is not being publicized. This is not a widely distributed memo. In fact, maybe I'll start with that. Maybe that is where I will start, that this is actually being personally handed to individual ICE agents so they can read it. Then they are briefed verbally on what's in it, and then they have to give it back to their supervisor, preventing exactly what did take place, that this was released to the public. First of all, let me start with this. We'll start with this. The Fourth Amendment of the United States Constitution, the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue, but upon probable cause supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. Very clear. Very paramount to the fundamentals of our civil rights in this country, the Fourth Amendment. It is the reason why, being raised in a right-wing, militia admiring or apologetic kind of a household, that I would be frustrated and animated to action as a kid, even watching the show Cops. Understanding, don't talk. Don't tell him. Don't allow them to search your vehicle. Don't give them permission. And apparently, I took it to heart because I've carried with me into my adulthood about the civil and human rights of individuals. The Constitution means something to me still. It just doesn't to Republicans, because it was never about protecting everyone. It's constitutional rights for me. The Fourth Amendment for me, the First Amendment for me, the Second Amendment for me, but not for thee, especially if you're black or brown. Because that's scary. You don't get rights, only I get rights. It's my birthright. This land is my birthright because I'm a white American. The Republican Party mantra now. So let me read a little bit about this, how they've made this memo a private thing. Then we'll get to what's in it, which is just an admonition to you don't need the Fourth Amendment. You don't need an actual warrant. You just need a document signed by someone within ICE who says that ICE can do what they want. And that's really not even a stretch. This is the gravamen of the disclosure. By memorandum dated May 12th, 2025, Acting ICE Director Todd Lyons authorizes ICE agents to forcibly enter into certain people's homes without a judicial warrant, consent, or an emergency. Specifically, in the May 12 memo, the acting ICE director authorized ICE agents to rely on Form I-205, which is not a judicial warrant. It's an internal document that is signed by an ICE official. So it's an ICE official, not a judge, not someone qualified by the Constitution, not someone qualified by statutory regulation, not a judge. Just, it's Greg Bavino being able to say, oh yeah, here you go. I signed it. Now you can go in. That's not how it works. You don't give a cop the decision of whether they get to follow or not the Constitution. They are restricted by the Constitution. It is a confounding issue for cops all across the country, especially these masked Nazi fucks, that they have prohibitions upon, restrictions upon their behavior. While addressed to all ICE personnel, in practice, the May 12th memo has not been formally distributed to all personnel. Instead, the May 12th memo has been provided to select DHS officials who are then directed to verbally brief the new policy for action. Those supervisors then show the memo to some employees, like our clients, and direct them to read the memo and return it to the supervisor. A Form I-205, which the DHS has called an warrant of removal deportation, they've called it that, that's not what it is drafted and signed by an ICE official based upon the final administrative order of deportation typically issued by an immigration judge. The purpose of the Form I-205 is to authorize ICE agents to detain and remove these individuals. These arrests have always been limited to public spaces because the Form I-205 has not been considered a warrant issued by a neutral and detached magistrate. Only a warrant issued by a neutral and detached magistrate would authorize ICE agents to enter or search non-public areas such as the alien's residence. Now, I was going to read the rest of that, but let's get to the memo. Let's get to this signed by Donald Trump's personal acting ICE director, this Nazi fuck, Todd Lyons. On January 20, we'll just get to the part that is the most egregious, but I'm reading from the memo here. Although the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, DHS, has not historically relied upon administrative warrants alone to arrest aliens subject to final orders of removal in their place of residence, although we've never done this before, we're going to do it because Donald Trump said so. That's what they're doing here. The DHS Office of the General Counsel has recently determined that the U.S. Constitution, the Immigration and Nationality Act, and the immigration regulations do not prohibit relying on administrative warrants for this purpose. They're just, the General Counsel of ICE said it was so. Someone, Donald Trump, some loyal lackey, some bootlicking lapdog decided we don't need to follow the Constitution because the dear leader said so. And that's all we need? That's the memo that you're keeping hidden, that you're not disseminating widely within the organization? Is that it? Accordingly, in light of this legal determination from inside of ICE immigration officers may arrest and detain aliens subject to a final order of removal issued by an immigration judge, not a district judge, not a federal judge, an immigration judge. By the way, I don't even think, the way I understand it, you don't even need to be an actual lawyer or a trained judge to be an immigration judge. The Board of Immigration Appeals, or a U.S. District Court judge or magistrate judge in their place of residence. Those other two are the legit ones. So they're mixing in a bunch of lies and conspiracies with the actual elements of someone who can authorize you to enter someone's private domicile. ICE immigration officers should consider all available enforcement mechanisms, including the use of Form I-205. Again, that's like saying, oh, this notice about Jason Crow's anti-invasion of Venezuela event today at the Capitol, which I'm going to be at, by the way. This is qualified to enter someone's home. It's just as valid. It's not what the Constitution prescribes. Including the use of Form I-205 to arrest an alien in their place of residence, to achieve the requirements, and here we are, to achieve the requirements of executive order, blah, 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 in accordance with applicable laws and policies. In accordance with, to achieve the requirements of something Donald Trump said. Executive order isn't a law. Executive order is an edict from the king, the wannabe king president, Donald Trump. And this document lays out in great detail exactly what is on the table here. And in fact, this is what we're up against here. This is from the AP. Let me read two paragraphs from this about what they witnessed. This is from the article, Immigration Officers Assert Sweeping Power to Enter Homes Without a Judge's Warrant, memo says. And then down here, the Associated Press witnessed ICE officers ramming through the front door of the home of Liberian man Garrison Gibson with a deportation order from 2023 in Minneapolis on January 11th, wearing heavy tactical gear and with their rifles drawn, Documents reviewed by the Associated Press revealed that the agents only had an administrative warrant, meaning there was no judge who authorized the raid on private property. Where are all the don't tread on me folks? Where are all of the ghouls who fly their little Gadsden flags that really should just be the snake licking the boot or the butthole of Donald Trump? Because that's what these people are. They're just racists. They're just white supremacists. They derive glee and joy in the torture and rounding up and sending to internment camps. And that's the best of it, by the way. That's the best of it, getting sent to an internment camp. Oftentimes, these people are being sent to countries or continents to which they've never been. We're deporting people not back to their homes, but to torture prisons in El Salvador, in countries in Africa. We're sending people from Latin America, Central and South America to Africa for the chaos of it. Because Donald Trump said so in his executive order, which is titled something about the invasion of the homeland. Protecting the American people against invasion. Nazi language. This is why you need to call 202-224-3121. 202-224-3121 and tell your representative not to fund ICE. Not be a Nazi collaborator. Do not collaborate. Do not fund an organization which is flagrantly, openly violating the United States Constitution and the Fourth Amendment, entering homes, crashing through homes in urban assault raids to kidnap people without the signature of a judge, without having provided any probable cause. Their probable cause is, well, the boss said it was okay because Donald Trump said it was okay. That's not good enough in a country of laws. What do you think? I invite you to this conversation. This is an important one.
A cubby complete with stuffed animals and stickers belonging to a student swept up in the federal immigration operation.
The sense of safety in our community and around our schools is shaken, and our hearts are shattered.
His name is Liam Ramos. He is 5 years old.
Call your representative today. It's the most important call you'll make possibly this year, certainly up to this time in the year. 202-224-3121. That's the number of the Capitol switchboard. Even if you've never called before, even if you've never contacted your congressman, your representative, your senator, call and let them know you will not abide Nazi collaboration. Do not fund ICE. Do not fund the Department of Homeland Security. And this story is just another reason why not. ICE kidnapped a 5-year-old child, sent him off to Texas. Where? We're not quite sure. It could be the ICE facility in Texas where 3 detainees have died just this year. Well, it's the 22nd of January, and there's already been 3 deaths at ICE facilities. Is this where they sent this kid? This child? This sweet little human being with his little hat on, coming back from school, getting kidnapped by ICE, and that's not even the worst of it. They used him as bait to try to kidnap other members of his family. This is from the Washington Post. ICE detains 4 children from Minnesota school district, including a 5-year-old. Columbia Heights Public Schools District officials accused ICE officers of using the 5-year-old as bait. A 10-year-old and her mother were also detained. This is where we are in America right now. And there's a shrinking, but still sizable portion of the population that looks at this with glee. As Donald Trump and the dildo with ears, Tom Homan, and all of these other ghouls act like we're going after the worst of the worst. Kristi Noem can't stop saying that phrase. We're going after the hardened criminals. Does this little kid, this little boy, Liam, is he the hardened criminal they're going after? They gave us no evidence. Donald Trump at the White House podium just showing pictures, ready to fall asleep. It says murderer under his name. It must be true. They provide no evidence, no indictments. It's just a claim. And now they're going after 5-year-old children on their return from preschool. 5-year-old Liam Ramos and his father, whom the Department of Homeland Security identified as Adrian Alexander Conejo Arias, in an emailed statement, were detained in their driveway Tuesday afternoon, just as they were returning from the child's preschool, according to a news release from Columbia Heights Public Schools. The father fled on foot when ICE officers approached him, DHS said. By the way, nothing they say can be trusted. Any statement from the DHS can just be considered out-of-hand lies. Absolute, just a fabrication of not even a twisting of what the actual facts are on the ground. They're just fucking liars. They're murdering people in ICE detention internment camps and then saying, oh, they tried to kill themselves. In fact, Brittany Page just did a video on this today. This very thing that you need to check out involving all of these murders that are taking place, the deaths. There's not enough time in the day. There's not enough hours to cover everything. That's why you need to diversify the information sources that you go to, because I can't cover everything. Not like I would be your one source anyway. But check out that video. We'll put the thumbnail here, link below. Watch that video. It's very, very important, very informative, so you can go through your day when talking to people, informing them about what the actual facts on the ground are. People who have a tendency to believe the government, to believe Kristi Noem, the fucking liar of liars, who lies for a liar for a living. After detaining the father, ICE agents then asked Liam to knock on the door to see if any other people were inside the home, using a 5-year-old as bait, according to the school district. Another adult living in the home, who was outside at the time, begged the agents to leave the child with them, the school district said. ICE agents refused because the ICE agents kidnapped this child and sent him from north of Minneapolis to Texas. Here's the headline from NBC News, just to give you a flavor for where he may have ended up. 3rd immigrant detainee at facility in El Paso has died, ICE says. Camp East Montana on Fort Bliss in El Paso is one of the largest ICE detention centers in the country. Again, go watch Brittany Page's video. But look, watch this news package from WCCO, the CBS affiliate in Minneapolis, talking about the kidnapping of Liam, this little boy, and the school officials who They are, by all, they're just absolutely distraught. These are people who have dedicated their lives in a helping profession, in an education profession, to develop the minds of human beings, young, impressionable human beings. Imagine the scene. Imagine a 5-year-old trying to wrap his brain around what is taking place. That men in masks with guns are violently, aggressively kidnapping his family and himself, throwing him on a plane to take him who knows where, separated from all the people he knows and loves. And Republicans are praising this. They're gleeful for this inhumanity. Watch this package from WCCO.
School leaders in Columbia Heights are also sounding the alarm, saying ICE is not only following buses and coming onto school grounds, but taking students.
A cubby complete with stuffed animals and stickers belonging to a student swept up in the federal immigration operation.
The sense of safety in our community and around our schools is shaken, and our hearts are shattered.
His name is Liam Ramos. He is 5 years old. Officials from his school say he was taken by ICE with his father while in their driveway after just arriving home from his preschool classroom Tuesday. School officials say he was used as bait. According to them, agents made Liam knock on the door, asking to let them in order to see if anyone else was home.
Why detain a 5-year-old? You can't tell me that this child is going to be classified as a violent criminal. The middle school brother came home to a missing dad, a missing little brother, and a terrified mother.
And Columbia Heights school leaders say Liam's family is far from alone.
As of today, 4 of our students, our children, have been detained by ICE.
They say a 17-year-old was also detained by ICE on his way to school Tuesday, removed from his car and taken away. Another 17-year-old was detained last week.
2 weeks ago, a 10-year-old student, 4th grader, was taken by ICE agents on her way to elementary school with her mother. During the arrest, the child called her father on the phone to tell him that ICE agents were bringing her to school. The father immediately came to the school to find that both his daughter and wife had been taken.
Now, school leaders say that Liam and his family are in the U.S. under an active claim for asylum and had no orders for deportation. We've asked ICE for a comment on these arrests of these children, but have not gotten a response.
Yeah, and don't expect any response from the Department of Homeland Security. They're not in the business of giving facts. They're not in the business of giving any updates about their crimes against humanity, their crimes against the country, their violations of the Constitution of the United States. Don't hold your breath waiting for a statement from Christy fucking Nome. This is why we should not fund ICE. This is why we should abolish ICE. Not another dollar for the Department of Homeland Security. And any member of Congress, Republican or Democrat, especially Democrat, if you vote to fund ICE, you are a Nazi collaborator. 202-224-3121. If you live in Rosa DeLauro's district, especially. If you live in Henry Cuellar's district in Texas, especially. Call them and let them know you will not abide their collaboration with Nazis. 202-224-3121. After that, if you want to comment below. You can also call the voicemail line 714-576-4054, but only after you've called Congress. If you appreciate what I do, you want to help out in producing these videos for $2 a month, you could do that. Click the join button below to become a channel member on YouTube, or go to patreon.com/IDoubtIt podcast. That's the best way because they take way less of a cut than Patreon. Patreon takes like 5%. YouTube takes like 30 or 35. It's a lot. Anyway, I love and appreciate you very much. Only if I'm your flavor. Only if I'm your vibe. Only if I provide you value in what I do.
Is Trump a 4-year-old brat or an aging, mentally ill dictator? You gotta pick a lane.
You know, the manosphere, the alpha male, masculine segment of conservatism. You know, it's led by, they're always like little skinny goofuses like Jordan Peterson or that Nick Adams dipshit. But there's also your television host contingent as well. Will Cain just stepped into this. Jesse Waters, of course, that's who I'm going to talk about today. But these are people who are just shameless grifters. They know that MAGA is so stupid, so bereft of understanding of how the world works, that they'll just swallow any lie, any substance for that matter, if it comes from Donald Trump. But Jesse Waters is among the worst. Just a dipshit, just a tiny straw-sucking moron who acts like it's not masculine to suck on a straw while just gobbling down straw after straw. It is just, he's cashing checks. I hope that all that money is worth it, because you're selling your soul, you little bitch, Jesse Waters. Let me share this with you. I don't know if it came in the coming up or not, but it needs to be readdressed now. This is Jesse Waters saying, you know what, the thing they won't call Trump, they won't call him stupid. They won't call him stupid. You never watched my show there, Jesse Waters. I call Donald Trump a dumb fuck on almost a daily basis. Along with you. You are also a stupid dumb fuck. Here is Jesse Waters giving you exactly the lay of the land, or not you, but MAGA world, you know, the unwashed, low information rubes in his audience. And then we'll move on to the rest of the segment and talk about exactly what led him there.
Notice what they never call Trump. Dumb. Because they know he's smart.
Yeah. Because they know he's smart. Right. So here's what led to this. He's talking about Davos in Switzerland. He's talking about Donald Trump's speech, which is just a meandering nonsense fest of barely being able to keep his eyes open while saying that people who buy windmills are stupid or whatever nonsense. And Jesse Waters just repeats that. He doesn't even call wind turbines. He doesn't even call them wind turbines. He calls them windmills like Donald Trump, because it's all about imitation and emulation for these cult members. But this is where it began. He's criticizing Gavin Newsom and different Democrats who are in Switzerland right now at the World Economic Forum. And it's either if you criticize Donald Trump, you can't take a joke, but also if you criticize Donald Trump, you're attempting a coup against the country. Make it make sense. Here's the first clip. Him criticizing multiple Democrats of their criticism of Donald Trump.
The Bloodhound's not feeling it, though. He says Gavin's a hot mess. All sizzle, no steak.
Governor Newsom, who strikes me as Patrick Bateman meets Sparkle Beach Ken, may be the only Californian who knows less about economics than Kamala Harris. He's here this week with his billionaire sugar daddy, Alex Soros. My message to Governor Newsom is the Trump administration is coming to California. We are going to crack down on waste, fraud, and abuse.
How much did Gavin spend flying to the Swiss Alps? We're about to find out. Newsom's always struck me as slightly European. That's why he had a little heart-to-heart with his French soulmates.
You criticized world leaders when you got here, saying that some of these European leaders have capitulated to the president.
In the past.
You said you should have brought knee pads. What have you heard from them since then?
A lot. I heard a surprising number say, glad you made those comments. The exact opposite of what you might expect.
Gavin seems to have a lot of secret conversations no one can verify. Biden did too, remember? There must be voices in their heads. Or is Gavin just whispering with the Europeans like a bunch of girls? Because we know the Europeans and Democrats can be two-faced. Now, if you want to go to the party, you got to play nice with the guy running the door. Gavin tried to crash the USA House party in Davos. Trump bounced him. Gavin complained, and then the White House fired back. No one in Davos knows who third-rate Governor Newsom is or why he's frolicking around Switzerland instead of fixing the many problems he created in California. And later, Trump said, all right, swing by a little after 10. President's being the bigger person here. Gavin hasn't rebuilt a single home in the Palisades, but he's off frolicking with foreign leaders. 47's just flipping on the lights, cutting the music, and telling Gavin, go fix your state, bud. But Bernie's calling Trump the immature one.
It's like a narcissistic 4-year-old spoiled brat. You know? Yeah. I'm going to yell and scream because I didn't get my extra cup of ice cream. So, you know.
Kentucky's Democrat governor's also in Davos, and he kind of caught Gavin's TDS.
The speech was dangerous, it was disrespectful, and it was unhinged. You saw him ramble on in stories and even try to do voices. I mean, this is really concerning, and for the United States, frankly, embarrassing.
Learn to take a joke. Is it a joke that Donald Trump is rounding up tens of thousands of community members across the United States, people with legal permission to be here, people with pending asylum claims, rounding them up and sending them to internment camps? Is it a tee-hee Jesse Waters that Renee Good was shot in the face, in the chest, and in the arm, and the headshot was from the side, meaning the kill shot was when the officer wasn't in danger. He wasn't being struck by the car. He was not hospitalized. You are a stooge for fascism, you skinny, stupid fuck. You, Jesse Waters. You being paid by a flagrant propaganda outlet, a state media agency, to promote the idea of white supremacy, because you yourself are a white supremacist, a racist. Now, this next clip, we're gonna start where we left off with the Andy Bashirs and the not knowing how to take a joke, and he's gonna pivot right into criticizing the ladies of The View, the hosts of The View, for their attempt to steer into a coup. And what is the coup? Criticizing Donald Trump. Donald Trump is apparently the golden god, the king of the country that you cannot cross. Do not criticize Donald Trump. Don't do it, or it's a coup.
And for the United States, frankly, embarrassing.
All right, have a sense of humor. Is Trump a 4-year-old brat or an aging, mentally ill dictator? You got to pick a lane. The ladies of The View, they can't. They're swerving all over the road, straight toward a coup.
The 25th Amendment requires the cabinet around him to act.
But we're talking to them.
Well, I know, but I'm just, as a dose of reality, his cabinet is squarely with him.
Yes.
Though I do think...
And it's time for them to go, too.
The View was fine with Biden falling asleep and wandering off, but Trump busts his buddy's chops about wearing sunglasses and they want to whack him? Notice what they never call Trump. Dumb. Because they know he's smart. And that's what scares them the most. Outkick.com host and co-host of the Big Weekend Show, Tommy Lahren. All right, Tommy, how'd Gavin do in Davos?
We got it. I think I got it. Trump's smart. Jesse Waters smart. Let's bring on someone who's also smart to talk about the smart things that Donald Trump did at Davos. Who do we go to? Tommy Lahren. Yeah. It's a real fucking brain trust over there on Jesse Waters' show. There's no other point other than to mock these freaks, because when this is all over and Donald Trump dies in his sleep and there's no more Donald Trump asshole to stick your head into, where are they going to be? Are they going to find a new cult leader? It ain't going to be J.D. Vance. He's got a brown wife and kids. They can't abide that. You're an embarrassment. The thing is, I think Jesse Waters knows. I think he's a smart enough guy. This child of privilege, this raised as a rich kid, now an even richer man. He turned a giant pile of money into a slightly larger pile of money, all on his merit. He knows what he's doing. He knows. He knows that he is a laughing stock. It doesn't matter, though, because apparently money is the great insulator from shame. It's the replacement for actually having dignity or morals or ethics or standards of behavior. But he's a big patriot, never served in the military. Too much of a coward to actually serve his country. So he serves it now. Well, not his country, he serves Donald Trump. Anyway, what do you think? I invite you to this conversation. Before you call, before you comment, call and tell your representative in the House not to be a Nazi collaborator. Do not vote to fund ICE. Do not vote to fund Department of Homeland Security. 202-224-3121. That is the number. Then you can comment.
By the way, I'm not kidding. They're the new Trump signature series knee pads. Yeah, and they are available online. I told you the last one sold out.
Even if you've never called your congressperson before, today is the day. 202-224-3121. Call your representative and tell them not to be a Nazi collaborator. Today is the vote to fund ICE. Another funding bill for ICE. Another funding bill for the Department of Homeland Security, which is now endeavoring to turn this country into a white ethno-state. If your congressperson votes for it, they are a Nazi collaborator. I don't care if they're a Democrat or not. If they vote to fund ICE, they are collaborating to fund Nazis, to fund masked, armed agents of the state, anonymous, Proud Boys. That's all on that. Until maybe at the end when I talk about it again. Gavin Newsom was in Davos yesterday. I just talked about Jesse Waters trying to say whatever nonsense he was saying about it. I got a lot of criticisms for Gavin Newsom. I think he is a charlatan. I think he's a liar. He's a great Trump opponent, but that doesn't make him an ally. He's now trying to kill a bill in California. I know I shouldn't start like this. People are already clicking off. It's what it is. He's trying to kill a bill in California to tax billionaires because, you know, he can't abide his rich friends being taxed at an appropriate rate to help fund the state that has given them so much, provided them so much. He has his little podcast where he invites Steve Bannon on. He invited Charlie Kirk, the racist, white supremacist, Christian nationalist bigot. Told him, oh, my son's a huge fan of you. And he just had Ben Shapiro on. He's breaking bread with Nazi fucks. He's breaking bread with white supremacists. He's breaking bread with people who are apologetic, making excuses for or denying the fact that a genocide is taking place by Israel in Palestine. Gavin Newsom's not a good guy. He's a great Trump opponent, and that's what we're going to talk about today. But I wanted to get on the record, not a fucking fan. If it turns out he's the only choice to run against a Republican in 2028, I'm going to vote for that guy. I will hold my nose and vote for him. But he's not my choice. He never will be my choice. I don't sit down and break bread with racists. I don't hold hands with racists. I don't tell racists and white supremacists about, oh, my kid's such a big fan of you. It's not finding middle ground. These people aren't partners in civilization with us. They are detractors of what is good and decent and moral. And to sit with them elevates them. It normalizes them. So fucking stop it, Gavin. Now, let's talk about him in Davos. We burned almost 3 minutes here. Sorry. The thing he is good at, apart from everything I just said, is being a Trump opponent, is having facts at the ready, statistics at the ready to battle Donald Trump and his lies. He sat on a stage and was interviewed in Davos, Switzerland at the World Economic Forum yesterday, where he dragged Donald Trump. And really, the real efficacy of this is the fact that it distracts Donald Trump from further damage that he can do. When you make fun of Donald Trump and you point out that he is a feeble, doddering old man who is ready to die in his sleep, it bothers him. When you point out that all the people around him are just bootlicking sycophants and talking about the knee pads that you sell that are the Trump signature series or whatever, this is a distraction for them. Not for us. This distracts them and it delays their agenda being accomplished. I have 3 clips here, all very brief. Let's start with the knee pads.
You're running around distributing knee pads to CEOs, and I think it does.
Handing them out.
And it does.
I do have a few, if you'd like. I don't know.
And honestly, it sounds.
By the way, I'm not kidding. They're the new Trump signature series knee pads. Yeah, and they are available online. I told you the last one sold out. And I just want to sort of. It's a serious moment. It actually. But we laugh. Anyway, these are available and in bulk too.
Look, it's funny. It's biting, it's insulting, it's fine. But it doesn't really get to the crux, and these next 2 clips do. These next 2 clips are a lot of criticism and commentary that is kind of masked by the insults, masked by pointing out the absurdity of the people who surround Donald Trump. And in this first one, he's criticizing administration officials, specifically Scott Bessent. But everything he says is absolutely true. Look, I can not like the guy and still appreciate the fact that he's bringing facts, that he's bringing the fire against Donald Trump and these fascists. Everything else, I don't like milquetoast Democrats. I don't like people who could call themselves progressives and then turn their backs on trans Americans. Not a fan. Yeah, there's just a fundamental issue of fairness with sports. Ugh. There's not even 10 athletes in all of the NCAA who are trans. Shut the fuck up, Gavin Newsom. As I say that, I realize the irony as I play a clip of him bringing the heat to Scott Bessent and members of the administration.
But I want to read you a couple of things the U.S. government has said about you in the last 24 hours or so.
How about the U.S. government?
The Treasury Secretary,
when you put it in
the Treasury Secretary described you as Patrick Bateman meets Sparkle Beach Ken. The White House Communications Director.
That was the U.S. Secretary of Treasury.
I have a couple more, and then you can respond. The White House Communications Director called you Gavin Newsom, and an official White House account, a federal government account, described you with I'd say, very online sexual slur that people here probably don't want to hear at 8:30 in the morning. And you're, in some sense, responding in kind, and waving the knee pads around.
Fire with fire.
Do you think? Should you? I mean, is that kind of discourse from you, from them, good for America?
No, it's deeply unbecoming. Come on, of course it is. It's not what we should be doing. But you've got to point out the absurdity. You got to put a mirror up to this. This is madness. President, you see what he's saying about European leaders, you talking down to people, talking past people. I mean, look, the comments he made yesterday, we're not even discussing, because you're discussing all the other comments about windmills or whatever else that was happening. Well, he talked about Somalia's community. This is not normal. It's a deviation of normalcy. We've got to call it out. So I put a mirror up to Trump and Trumpism in all caps. And it was ironic because Pravda, Fox News in America, others, they got offended by it. They said, well, where's his mother to wash his mouth out with soap? I said, well, where the hell have you been? You've never said a word about Trump dressing up as the Pope, tweeting out and cosplaying on the world stage. And so look, the Treasury Secretary talked about a Barbie doll. It was as if he was reading a diary and had just broken up with someone. I mean, that was the Secretary of Treasury using valuable time yesterday on the world stage. Thank you for not sharing that on the official White House account. We're deeply in their head. I think the affordability agenda appears to be, I'm living rent-free in the Trump administration's head.
Some of this is the reason I don't really like him. He's making it about him. I live rent-free in their heads. But all those criticisms are correct. Scott Bessent is a ghoul. Scott Bessent is a man who worked for George Soros, who's now claiming that Gavin Newsom works for George Soros. He literally worked for George Soros. And in the next one, it's really the pinnacle of what his skill set is, and that is distracting Donald Trump with criticism, making fun of Donald Trump, mocking Donald Trump. Because he does, unfortunately, he does live rent-free in his head. Watch this.
He's an invasive species, Donald Trump. He's not. He is. He took over the Republican Party. They're just, he's got, a few of them. Lindsey Graham, speaking of the knee pads. I'm sorry. This is tough stuff. It's tough stuff. I don't recognize these people any longer. I used to respect Lindsey. Lindsey, you think what I'm saying about Trump's tough? How about what Lindsey Graham said about Trump? How about the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio?
Do you think...
these are the same people. And this is why for things to change, we need to change.
Do you think
and that's why I'm changing my approach. And again, grateful you all took the time.
I suppose, do you think...
So you may ask, do you think this moves the needle? I don't. I don't think this moves the needle too much, but it does delay. It does distract. It does cause, there's finite number of minutes in a day, and hours in a day, right? And so if we can distract Donald Trump, and if he and Marco Rubio have to have a conversation about the thing that Gavin Newsom said, those are just a few minutes that are not dedicated to the destruction of the republic. Those are just a few minutes dedicated to them not being able to devise ways to defy the Constitution. And I'm here for that. But again, We need to pick better leaders, people who actually will stand for what is right, what is moral, what is upstanding, not cozy to fucking billionaires, not turn their back on marginalized, abused, in danger communities in this country. He's done a lot of good stuff. The redistricting thing was a good thing. This bill that is working its way through to outlaw ICE agents from being masked in the operation of their duties. That's all good. He's not far left enough for me. And if he's far left enough for you, maybe I'm too left for you. Anyway, give me your feedback. Give me your dissent. Tell me where I'm wrong. This isn't about purity tests. This is about standing up for marginalized communities. And if that's an issue, I'm just not going to budge on. Human rights are human rights, and they are important. They are critical because everything else derives from that. How we treat the vulnerable. It's no test how you treat people, how you treat white men, white middle-class men. That is not a barometer of how you view society. It's how you treat the least of these, to put it in Christianese, to put it in terms of that Jesus talked about. That's the mark. That's the standard by which we should judge our leaders. Anyway, what do you think? After you've called to demand that your congressperson not vote for ICE, not vote to fund the Department of Homeland Security, not be a Nazi collaborator at 202-224-3121, you can call me, 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me daily@dollemore.com. If you're still around and you appreciate what I do, the forcefulness with which I do it, if I bring you value, please consider supporting this work, helping me produce these videos. You can go to patreon.com/IDoubtItPodcast. That's the best option. Absolutely the best option. You can also secondarily do it right on YouTube by clicking the join button below the video or just on my channel. Click join, become a channel member, $2 a month.
I've not dug into the details of that. It's not within our purview. It's an administration project.
Call your member of Congress, 202-224-3121. Tell them not to collaborate with ICE. Do not be a Nazi collaborator. Do not fund the Department of Homeland Security one single dime. 202-224-3121. You will be held account. Members of Congress, Democrats, you will be primaried if you vote to fund ICE in the face of kidnappings and murders of citizens, of violations of the Constitution. We won't forget, and we won't forgive. You hear that, Rosa DeLauro? You hear that, Henry Cuellar? We will remember. Now, let's talk about the fact that Mike Johnson is a weird, wormy little ass kiss for Donald Trump, who has just abdicated any role, any power as Speaker of the House of Representatives, as the leader of the House of Representatives, a co-equal branch of government. He is just a spokesperson for Donald Trump with his rosy little elf cheeks yesterday for some reason. I have two clips here because I want to demonstrate, I want to illustrate to you that Mike Johnson, when it's anything to defend Donald Trump, he's an expert on, like apparently the Nobel Prize processes. He knows all about that. Oh, Norway, they know more about this. He's the president. He has more control. While Manu Raju is asking him questions. But then, when asked about Russia being invited to the Board of Peace or whatever, he's like, there's so many moving parts. I don't know. I just don't know. Do you have any questions about the Nobel Prize? I can answer all those. Just weird. He not beating the allegations that he's a closeted gay man at all with all of this Trump adulation. Just a circle jerk. You get Lindsey Graham in there, you get Mike Johnson in there, and they just work Donald Trump over. And he's so addled, he probably thinks it's Melania or something. Who fucking knows? It's bizarre. But watch this with Lil Moses Mike Johnson, the guy who wants to share his porn consumption with his son. Fucking weird, these fucking people. Watch this as he's being asked about the Nobel Prize thing and how Donald Trump is obsessed with it, and the letter that he sent to the president of Denmark about Norway, even though, or was it Norway about Denmark, and he's just addled, just out of it, just completely detached from the reality that the rest of us share. And Mike Johnson, his job is not to be speaker, but to defend Donald Trump.
I'm so sorry. He's tried to not get involved in agreement. He released that text to the Norwegian Prime Minister. Is it appropriate for him to do that?
I think that misportrays what he was doing there. So
what was he trying to do?
You have to ask him.
He was criticizing them for not giving the Nobel Peace Prize.
Well, look, there's a lot of people that criticize them for making a political decision and not awarding the Nobel Peace Prize to probably the most deserving individual in the history of the prize.
But normally the country doesn't have to do it.
8 to 10 wars and conflicts have been resolved by President Trump, and he got snubbed.
But the Prime Minister is not going to do it then.
No, but it is his country, and he has a lot of influence.
Donald Trump is probably the most deserving individual in the history of the prize. First of all, the predicate, the justification for allowing Donald Trump the belief that he deserves a Nobel Prize is that he ended 8 or 10 or 12 or 420 billion wars, whatever nonsense, whatever lie. Submissions for nominees to get the Nobel Prize this year were due like the end of January of last year of 2025. Donald Trump took office on the 20th. In 11 days, did he end all the wars? That's just one thing. Secondly, the president of Norway doesn't have any control, Mike Johnson, and you know it, you stupid fuck. You know that the president of Norway has no sway in this. Just like Donald Trump has no sway over our awards here. The only award Donald Trump has sway in naming is like the Soccer Peace Prize, which wasn't a thing until the criminals at FIFA saw fit to give him or allow him to give himself the Soccer Peace Prize. Thirdly, the president of Norway, the leader of Norway, isn't a dictator. Donald Trump wants to be a dictator. He wants to control the Kennedy Center honors. He would love to control the Oscars, but that's not how it works. It's not how it works. But Mike Johnson would have you believe he knows all about it. Mike Johnson would have you believe that he's got all the information at his fingertips. Except when he's asked about something of import, like Vladimir Putin, a thug and murderer, being invited to the Board of Peace to the tune of $1 billion that Donald Trump will surely pocket. When you ask him about that, he's all, I've not dug into the details of that. It's not within my purview. I'm not one to answer. I just don't know about that.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
You recognize the rampant threat of Russia and military aggression and the necessity of Greenland as a strategic point. Nevertheless, Donald Trump has nominated Vladimir Putin as a member of the Board of Peace for Gaza. Do you have any reaction to that?
Well, I think there's a long list of people nominated for the Board of Peace, and I think some of the details are still being determined. And for $1 billion, you get a permanent seat. I saw over the weekend. I've not dug into the details of that. It's not within our purview. It's an administration project. But I think it's one that's greatly welcomed. We need a Board of Peace there. We because of American strength, we ended that conflict there, and we got the hostages released, all but one who's deceased so far. And the peace has to be continued. It's very fragile. It's a tinderbox there, as you know, that region. But because of President Trump's bold leadership, we were able to end that conflict, and everybody knows that. So we're gonna trust that insight in the administration to sort that out, to figure it out. We have very bright people over there working on it, our envoys, Witkoff and the rest of the team. The president's son-in-law himself is there. I mean, you have a great group of people, and Marco Rubio is our Secretary of State. We have tremendous confidence in. We will figure this out, but I'm not the one to answer the details on that. We'll have to find out. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, go ahead.
Does that make you confident, MAGA? That's your guy. That's Donald Trump's hand-picked Speaker of the House. These people who power must be just ravenously intoxicating. Because to debase yourself like this, to publicly, metaphorically have your tongue in Donald Trump's butthole 24/7, it is just an embarrassment. Like, your kids are watching you, Mike. He has kids, right? Your children, your family are watching you, Mike Johnson. Yeah, he's got a son that he shares his porn with, so he has kids. They're watching you. They see you. They know that you're a liar. Are you proud of that? It's fucking weird. Anyway, what do you think? Comment below. After you've called Congress and told them not to fund ICE, not to be a Nazi collaborator, 202-224-3121. After that, and only after that, maybe as a treat, you can comment below.
That would be a dereliction of my duty.
And it would be a dereliction of mine if I didn't ask. It is the morning. I'm not yet going to the event that I'm getting ready to talk about. But before I do, I want to tell you to call your member of Congress. I'm getting ready to go stand before a member of Congress on Capitol Hill and ask him questions. Jason Crow is hosting this event. I'm going there. This is a Vote Vet sponsored event. Members of Congress oppose war with Venezuela with Congressman Jason Crow and other members of Congress. And while I'm there, I will be asking Jason Crow to not vote to be a Nazi collaborator. Do not vote to fund ICE. Do not fund the Department of Homeland Security in this vote today. Maybe the vote will already have taken place. I don't think so, though. This is from 1:30 to 2:30 p.m. Eastern time. But you can vote. You can call and tell your member of Congress not to vote for ICE, for DHS, to fund them. Do not be a collaborator of the mass secret police of Donald Trump. 202-224-3121, even if you've never called before. So this is this event that I'm going to go to today. Hopefully I will be able to steal the congressman away for just a couple of moments for a couple of questions. And that's what will follow here. And if I don't get that time, then you won't see this video. This will all be for naught. But we need to be listen, I know there are a myriad things right now that are terrorizing the world. Donald Trump being the tip of the spear for that. He is trying to cause imperial conquest for his administration, for himself. He's threatening attacks on Greenland. He's already militarily attacked, unconstitutionally attacked, used the military without the advice and consent of Congress, which has absolute authority to declare war against nations. He's threatening Cuba. He's threatening Panama. He's threatening Colombia. He's threatening Mexico. He's threatening Canada. He has bombed Nigeria. He has bombed Iran. Who did I miss? Donald Trump is a despot and a tyrant and a wannabe dictator. He thinks the Constitution does not apply to him, and we need members of Congress, and I believe Jason Crow is one of them, who will claw back the powers of the Congress, the constitutionally mandated powers of the Congress. So with that, we'll cut to my conversation that hasn't even happened yet with Jason Crow, a member of Congress who has been attacked by Donald Trump, who is being investigated by Donald Trump because he was part of the members who sent that video that said to not follow unlawful orders.
I know this is about affordability and what we can and can't afford, and the party about family values and good stewards of taxpayer dollars. Yeah. Can you speak to what you think, if you were to make a guess, don't put yourself in the mind of a Republican, but why are they so freely willing to abdicate their role under Article 1, Section 8, Clause 11 of the war powers? Why are they so willing to just bend the knee to Donald Trump and give him everything he wants?
Yeah, when I came to Congress, I wanted to believe that the vast majority of people here were here for the right reasons, for selfless service, to serve their communities. What I have learned is that there are more people than, frankly, I expected, who are here just to keep the job, who are here just because they're interested in the title. Right, and you see people who have been here for decades, who I think become, frankly, institutionalized, and their identity becomes subsumed into the job. Right, so when Donald Trump comes along and he threatens them with primaries or threatens the job, what you see is people's willingness to do anything, just to keep the job and the title, and that even if that means abdicating their constitutional duty, or turning their back on their constituents, or doing things that are jeopardizing the health care or the safety and security of their constituents. So that is the dynamic that's been created, which leads me to one conclusion and one conclusion only. And that is, if you don't have the courage and the integrity to do the right thing and fulfill your oath, then we just got to send you packing.
You think they know they're a co-equal branch, right? Like, understanding, like, they know that.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I think they know that. I don't think people. I think there are people here who don't care about that. I mean, that's the honest truth. Let's call a spade here, right? There are people here who understand what they need to be doing, right? And they're just not doing it because they just don't have the courage of their convictions, and they're more interested in their own job and self-interest than serving this country.
Sure. Well, thank you for remembering your oath. It's nice to see veterans who are remembering it.
Yeah.
One last thing. Today there's going to be a vote on funding DHS and ICE, and I was wondering what you're planning to do there.
Yeah, I am not going to vote to support a lawless runaway agency. What Americans want is they want federal law enforcement to keep their community safe, to go after criminals, right? To go after real crime, right? Not to abuse and intimidate women and children and families, not to roll up and snatch people off of street corners because they look like they don't belong, not to deny people court hearings and habeas corpus. I mean, we literally became a country based on habeas corpus and the fact that, colonists stood up and said, no, you can't do that. You just can't take people and imprison them and lock them away without a court hearing. We're not going to subject ourselves to that, right? That is one of the most American things you can think about. Is that right? You have a right to be proven a right to be presumed innocent, a right to a hearing, a right to be seen by a lawyer and a judge. And I am just simply not going to vote for something that allows these abuses to continue. That would be a dereliction of my duty.
And it would be a dereliction of mine if I didn't ask. I've been banging the drum, so thanks for not being a Nazi collaborator.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Well, that was good. Good to hear. Also, I guess as a measure of tooting my own horn, before I get to the crux of what the press conference was about, this is why I moved to Washington, D.C. This is why I forego representation in Congress. I am taxed, yet not represented. It's because I want to be able to ask members of Congress to hold them to account. We are lucky to have people like Jason Crow, who doesn't need to be handheld and held to account because he's going to do the right thing. I ask you, call your congressperson, 202-224-3121. I've been screaming that number all day long at the top and bottom of every single topic that I talked about. And it's because I'm not just asking you to ask your congressperson. I'm asking congresspeople when I see them the same thing. I'm holding myself to that same standard. Now, as to the content of what was talked about today, about the abdication of their role as a co-equal branch of government, these bootlickers, these lapdogs, these abject cowards who have bent the knee to Donald Trump and traded their own equality as a governing agency, as a branch of government, just giving it to Donald Trump. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 11 of the Constitution cedes only, exclusively, the power to declare war to Congress. All they have to do is hold a vote. Hold a vote and show the United States people where you stand. Go on the record to declare Donald Trump has the authority to do what he wants right now. Yes, we should declare war against Venezuela, or because you are afraid and you know it's outside of the bounds of what the public opinion is right now, don't do it. Republicans, talking to you. You hold the power, and yet you don't believe you do. You think Donald Trump is such a powerful dictator type, we can't go against him. What will he say? What will he do? What kind of danger will he put our very families in if we go against him? We'll be on the outs like Marjorie Taylor Greene. We'll be on the outs like Thomas Massie. They are weak. They are feckless. They are not leaders. They are followers. And in this moment in time, in this moment in American history, we need leaders. We need leaders like Jason Crow and the rest of the folks who were behind him at the press conference that we should probably be playing B-roll of right now while I'm talking. But I want to say thank you for your efforts. I've already looked at some of the comments on my videos that I've already posted today, and there are a number of you who have said, I just got off the phone with my rep. What I'd like to hear from you, though, is what was the response? What exactly did the person say? Who is your rep? And what did their staffer say? If it's a Republican, I'd really like to know. And if it's, well, either way, I'd like to know. So comment below and tell me what the response was when you called. Again, you still have time, 202-224-3121. Call your member of Congress and tell them a no vote is expected. The expectation is for them to not be a Nazi collaborator, as the same words I used with Congressman Jason Crow. You can also comment below and call my voicemail line. It doesn't go to a congressperson. It just goes to this dumbass. It is 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me daily@dollemore.com. I love and appreciate you very much. Thanks for your engagement today, of all days especially, but also for your long-term commitment to the truth and advancing the agenda of human rights and decency and adherence to the Constitution that many of you have actually sworn an oath to. I'll see you next time. Until then, be genuine and take care of one another.